exposing the blood-soaked secrets of a dynasty that ruled with fear. This is the story of the Ampatuan clan, where power was absolute and silence was deadly. In Maguindanao, southern Philippines, whispers told of a family whose name meant absolute power, the Ampatuans. Their mansions loomed behind high walls guarded by a private army loyal only to the clan. The Ampatuans ruled not just through politics but through fear, enforcing their will with military-grade weapons and ruthless discipline. Stories of unexplained disappearances and unmarked graves haunted the province. People vanished, families silenced by terror, the land itself holding the clan's secrets. The Ampatuans' rule was built on alliances, wealth, and a paralyzing fear that kept everyone in line. For decades, their power grew unchecked, creating a state within a state. Democracy was a facade, the clan's will was the only law. The world remained oblivious until one day the whispers erupted into a scream. The Ampatuan kingdom was about to be exposed. The Ampatuan dynasty began with Andal Ampatuan Sr., a small-town mayor who saw opportunity in Mindanao's chaos. He mastered local politics, forging alliances and using force to make his word law. Delivering votes to Manila, the clan gained power and protection while public funds lined their pockets and the province stayed poor. Their wealth bought loyalty and funded a private army. Fear silenced rivals and citizens alike. The Ampatuans ruled through terror, their compounds guarded, their power unchallenged. But whispers of rebellion grew. The dynasty's grip on Maguindanao was about to face its greatest threat. At the heart of the Ampatuans' power was their private army, 100 strong, armed like soldiers. Officially, they were volunteers defending against rebels, but in truth, they enforced the clan's will. The state turned a blind eye, granting legitimacy in exchange for political support. This army silenced rivals, threatened business owners, and intimidated journalists. Their presence was a daily reminder. The Ampatuans were above the law. Ordinary life meant constant caution, never speaking out, never drawing attention. Justice was a privilege, survival meant staying invisible. This oppressive atmosphere allowed the clan to plan an atrocity on a scale the country had never seen. The private army's true purpose was about to be revealed. The province braced for a storm. In 2009, as the Philippine elections drew near, a storm was brewing in the province of Maguindanao. Esmail Toto Mangudadatu, a local politician with a vision for change, dared to challenge the powerful Ampatuan clan for the position of governor, a move that many considered unthinkable. The Ampatuans had ruled the region for years, their grip on power enforced by fear and violence. Mangudadatu knew the risks. Threats had already been made against his life. To avoid bloodshed, he made a fateful decision. He sent his wife, sisters, and female relatives, accompanied by a group of journalists, to file his candidacy papers. He believed that tradition, where women were considered off-limits in clan conflicts, and the presence of the media would shield them from harm. On the morning of November 23rd, a convoy of 58 people set out. Among them were women, family members, and reporters, each one determined to stand up to the dynasty that had ruled with an iron fist for so long. Their journey was more than a political act. It was a statement of courage and hope. The mood inside the vehicles was tense but hopeful. Some clung to the belief that the world was watching, that international attention would keep them safe. Others whispered prayers, uncertain but resolute. But in the shadows along the rural roads, the Ampatuans had already set their deadly trap. Their power was not just political, it was enforced by private armies and ruthless ambition. As the convoy crossed into Ampatuan territory, they were unaware that more than 100 armed men lay in wait, hidden among the trees and brush, ready to strike at a moment's notice. The travelers placed their faith in custom and the power of the press, believing that neither women nor journalists would be harmed. It was a trust built on hope, but dangerously misplaced. As the convoy slowed, realization dawned. Fear crept in, but by then it was too late to turn back. Their trust would prove fatal. The convoy was about to become the target of a meticulously planned massacre, one that would shock the nation and the world and forever change the course of Philippine history. The road to the capital, once a symbol of hope and democracy, became a road to horror and unimaginable loss. The Ampatuans would show the world the true cost of defiance. The trap was sprung and the consequences would echo for years to come. On November 23, 2009, a convoy of journalists, lawyers and family members was stopped at a rural checkpoint in Maguindanao by the Ampatuans' private army. Forced out at gunpoint, they were marched up a remote hill. Fear and confusion everywhere. Cameras were smashed, pleas ignored. 58 lives were brutally ended, a massacre meant to silence resistance, but the horror could not stay buried. The world watched as the truth emerged, demanding justice for Maguindanao. The call for justice would echo far beyond those hills, forever changing Philippine history. News of the missing convoy spread, but the truth was worse than anyone imagined. Authorities found mass graves, vehicles and bodies, evidence of a massacre. The backhoe, marked with the provincial government's name, stood as a grim symbol. Outrage swept the Philippines and the world. The Maguindanao Massacre became the deadliest attack on journalists in history. 32 media workers among the dead. The event exposed the dark reality of political warlordism and impunity. The government declared a state of emergency. International condemnation followed. The Ampatuan name became synonymous with brutality. The massacre was not just murder, it was an assault on democracy itself. The world demanded justice. Investigators uncovered the true extent of the Ampatuans' power. Mansions filled with weapons, private armies armed by the state. Raids revealed thousands of firearms, many traced to government armories. Locals, emboldened by the investigation, led authorities to more mass graves, evidence of years of violence. The massacre was not an isolated act, but the culmination of systematic terror. The province was a crime scene, the government complicit in the clan's rise. Eyewitnesses, including insiders, testified to the planning and execution of the massacre. The evidence was overwhelming. The Ampatuans' reign was built on blood and political bargains. The path to justice would be long and fraught with danger. The truth was finally out, but the fight was far from over. The trial of the Ampatuans was massive. Hundreds accused, years of delays, witnesses threatened or killed. In 2019, a decade after the massacre, key clan members were convicted and sentenced to life in prison. It was a rare victory against a powerful dynasty, but justice was incomplete. Many were acquitted, and some clan members returned to politics. The patriarch died before facing final judgment. The full network of enablers and the extent of the clan's crimes remain hidden. The trial brought some closure, but many questions linger. The systems that allowed the Ampatuans to flourish still exist. The legacy is one of both justice served and justice denied. The fight for accountability continues. More than a decade later, the Ampatuan name still haunts Philippine politics. Some family members remain in power, proof that political dynasties endure. The massacre exposed a dangerous truth. Warlordism and impunity persist across the country. The formula, vote-buying, alliances, private armies, remains alive in other provinces. The story is a warning: unchecked power breeds tragedy. The courage of journalists and citizens is vital, but the cost is high. The fight for justice and democracy is ongoing. What will it take to break the cycle? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more stories from the shadows.